Okay, hello. Looks like our volume is working now. My name is Dennis. I'm with Precision PCB Services, and we are a distributor of Shuttle Star, Zoom Out, and Wisdom Show BGA Rework stations. And today we're going to be doing a demo of our Shuttle Star SV550, and we're going to be changing a BGA socket. So I'll go through a little bit of what we're going to be doing here. First off, I'm going to be working on a Shuttle Star SV560 or 550. I'm sorry, and this is our 2012 model. This is pretty much what we use every day to rework boards for all of our clients. So we do product development companies, contract manufacturers, smaller repair shops, but the majority of our companies are product development and larger contract manufacturers. So it's a pretty good all-around machine. And the board we're going to be doing today is about 2 millimeters thick, and we're going to be doing a socket. And what do we say our socket is? Our socket is about 42 millimeter by 48 millimeter, and so we're going to be using a 50 millimeter nozzle. Get you a little look over here. Let me turn this a little bit. This is the newer. This is a brand new machine here. This is a 2017 model SV550, and so you notice the newer models, they upgraded the monitors and the resolution, so they have a little bit larger monitor, a little bit higher resolution than they did back in 2012. I live with the lower resolution. It's fine. It'll do down to about 4 millimeters. 2 millimeters is probably pushing it on the older one. So to get started, the machines come with pickup tubes, and they have various sizes. You have large ones. We can do small ones, so like large, medium, small, depending on what type of chip you're doing. Today with the socket, because we're taking this one off, it doesn't have a top on it. We're going to do a manual pickup. So the machines will have an auto pick in place. So if if it has a top, you can automatically remove it with the nozzles. It has a vacuum, and then you can install it. But like I say, since today we don't have a top on this one we're removing, we're going to heat it up and remove it with some tweezers. So to start with, just going to put our nozzle on here. And so the older ones are mechanical, where the newer ones are magnetic. Makes it a lot less hassle-free. So let's get a little bit closer up here. And so you don't want to see me, you'll see the machine more. So what we have is a control pad, and it pretty much operates just like your cell phone. It has the different commands on it. So first off, we're going to pull out our vision system. And you go to the control pad, I'll click on the camera, and we'll zoom out. And right now, I just want to get this nozzle centered around the socket, and we can adjust our light a little bit. Right now, I want to get my nozzle is going to be in blue. Let me see if we can set this over here so you can see it better. There you go. So this is our nozzles around the component here, and we have a 50 mil. That's a pretty tight fit. Have to have a tight fit because this one here we've got long connectors on both sides of the nozzle. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjust this to focus my nozzle a little bit. There we go. So what happens is we can focus our socket using the software controls. Let me show you here, like this. And then we'll focus the nozzle by actually mechanically moving the machine up and down. And so right now our nozzle's in the blue and our socket's in the black. It looks like we're pretty close there. Like I said, this machine's what, 2012, and right now I've got a little over 180 profiles saved in it for different boards. So we've got our oh, I forgot to do one thing. This machine does have a movable head here. which the newer machines don't have that. And so I need to, before we do that, let's go center. We need to center our head and lock it. I forgot to lock the machine this morning. So this is a feature they discontinued. It's handy once in a while if you get a really big board and you can't get the component near the center. If it's off the edge, then you can move the head of the machine. So we lock that now. It's got a magnetic lock. We're going to put our board back in place. Then we're going to go back and realign it again. It's tight there, tight there. There we go. So I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about the movable prism system here. And this works nicely because if we're doing larger components like this, we can move it around and we can see, all four sides of the solder balls once we line it up. Whereas the on the zoom out, we have it just comes out and it stays stationary. So if we have a component that's really bigger than the nozzle, we can't move it around. We just have to line up the center balls. So this makes it a little more versatile for working with. Okay, so we realign that again. There is a nozzle here on the bottom, and it adjusts up and down. So I'm going to adjust that up just a little bit closer to the board. And it looks like we're about ready to remove this. I put a thermocouple here on the side of the solder balls so we can see how hot our solder balls are getting. And so what I'm simply going to do, since we're going to take this out by hand, I'm just going to click manual. And it's going to go down. It'll stop above the socket so it doesn't crash on the board. And then we can manually move it down using the touchpad. And so I've just got this down so it's a little bit off the board, a little bit close to the socket. And now we're going to run it. It'll take about 5 to 6 minutes to run this profile and remove the component. Going to back this out a little bit here. We'll do our fancy camera work. Let's see. I don't know if you can, this thing will pick up the keypad so much. Let's see if we can move it down here and show you the keypad. Turn off this light overhead. It's picking up a little glare. There we go. I'm still getting a little glare off the light. Let's see what we got here. It's not a real clear resolution, but what we have is our keypad. You have your controls here. You have vacuum, cooling, stop, solder, desolder. Right now we're using the manual as a pickup. So if I click on camera here, let's cancel that. Camera. Then my camera controls will come out. I can use it for zooming in, zooming out, and focus. It's nice I don't have my stylus, but you can use a stylus on this. Oh, it also has a mouse, so you can use a mouse if your fingers are too big for the touch screen. So right now we're just watching our profile. We have a set perimeters here. And so you can go to your perimeter set screen. This is where I'm setting up my actual profile on the screen. It's a little bit too bright for this camera to pick up. We're going to go back to our menu, and we're going to let this run. Right now we're on zone 2. I believe I have this set up for a 4-zone profile. Let's go back up here. So I'll have to invest in a cameraman for the future so we can be just like on TV. Get the glasses out of the way here. Can you guys all hear me okay? Make sure I'm not sitting here going through all this and my mic not working. My shows was working on this end, but I've done videos where it didn't work, so good. If you have any questions, just type them in the screen there and I'll answer your questions you have as we're going along here. Right now I have this, it looks like we're gonna do 4 zones. And I have it heating up about 1 degree per second. And then I have my area heaters set at about 300. And we want to talk about the area heaters. So a lot of the Chinese companies, they say, well, they're infrared area heaters. The area heaters are the heaters that are out here that heat up or the preheat the board. So we're not really heating the board up to solder temperature on the outer areas. We just want to heat it up enough so that it doesn't warp. So it's not a big differential between the heat on the board and the component. So the area heaters on the Shuttle star here, they're a bar type. And what this is just a carbon material, and it has a coil inside. So it's not really, I don't really consider it a true infrared. It's just it's a heater. So if you jump up to the SV550, those have what they call the rapid heat infrareds. And those are actual infrared, and they heat up really fast. And they have a diffuser that radiates the heat. So what the difference is going to be, these heaters, I set these at 300 right now, right? And so I'm going to get 300 degrees on these. They don't heat up as evenly. There's 6 of them, so they don't heat up as evenly as the infrared. If I have these set at 300, they're not all going to be at 300. One's going to be maybe 300, one's going to be maybe 290, one's going to be maybe 310. There could be a 10 or 20 degree differential between each bar. Whereas the rapid heat infrareds, you don't get that differential. The other thing is the rapid heat infrareds, they radiate the heat out. Right now, when I put my hand here, I can feel the heat. It's preheating my board. But if I set my rapid heat infrared, because it radiates the heat out so well, if I set my rapid heat infrared to 300C, like on this machine here, it would actually heat the board up to 300C. It just radiates the heat up that much further, that much more evenly, that it really heats up the board. So on a rapid heat infrared, on this board, I'd probably be using about 200C versus 300C. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I say, what happens is if you start doing boards about 4 millimeter thick or so, the rapid heat infrareds are a lot nicer because they'll heat up those thicker boards. Like I say, we're doing this one here. Like I said, it's about 2 millimeter thick. I do boards on this machine up to 4 millimeters thick, and it all depends on how the board's made and if you have warping issues. So if it's a thick board and you're tending to have warping issues, then having the rapid heat infrareds is a lot nicer. But like I said, I've been using this machine here since 2012, and we put a lot of boards on it. I wouldn't be able to do, I've got a board here, it's 36 layers, it's almost 36 inch. And I wouldn't be able to do that board on this machine. I would have to use the SV560 to do that big of a board because I need the larger area heaters. So I think when you start getting above probably 20 inches, then you want to step up to the SV560. Other than that, like I said, this machine's been great. It'll do about anything I throw at it. So we're in zone 4, which is our last zone. We're counting down now. My thermocouples is about 234, and normally with lead free I want to see it about 235 to 250. I'm just going to stick a probe in here and see if it's loose yet. And it's not loose yet. Let's see. So how much more we have to go? We got 60 seconds. Oh, so it's up, it just jumped about 248, so we're getting up there. Yeah, it's going to be really close. This profile is really on the edge, so we're probably going to get a loose at 30 seconds into the peak reflow, and yeah, it's loose now. So for taking it off, I could take it off now, and if I was putting it on, I'd let it run the full. It's got about 20 more seconds to go. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, I'm going to stop the manual. I'm going to lift the head up here, and we're just going to lift this up with some tweezers to take it off there. And then I'm going to go put our cooling fans on. Try and get a little bit more of the stuff when I'm doing here on the control pad. You can't really see close up, but at least you get an idea what I'm doing. So I have a cooling fan. I put the cooling fan on. I'm lifting the head. Now, if I had automatically picked up the component, if I had it in the desolder mode, then it would have automatically picked up. The head would have gone up, and the cooling fans would have come on automatically. And so we, what happens is the bottom hot air fan turns on high, the top hot air fan turns on high, and then over here we have a cross fan that cools the whole board and the heat is off. And it takes about probably 2 to 3 minutes to cool down completely. And so we're going to let this cool down a few seconds, and then I'm going to go desolder this. And once we desolder it, then we'll be putting this socket here back on to the board. So what I have here, if you look on the edge here, I've got some long connectors. And I did this board, one of these about a week or two ago, and we didn't have any problem with the connectors getting too hot. But I put some thick Kapton tape over them just in case, for protection, just in case it does get hot. But it seems to be doing fine. Also, notice on this machine, we just heated this board up. We took it to about 248 C at the solder ball. And we have our, I think, let's see, our set perimeter. Let me see what our peak reflow was at. Our peak heat at the top was 290, the bottom was 310. That's the heat coming out. And so you see we have our heat higher, but the board only got up to 250, so you're going to have to set your top and bottom heats higher. And our area was 300. And I said the thing we noticed on this board did not warp at all. So also it's because of the edge. If it was in the middle, we might have got a little bit. But because the area heaters are doing a good job to preheat the board, we're not getting any warpage. So what I'm going to do, this is cool enough to touch now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to do this on camera. I'm going to desolder it real quick. Maybe about 3 or 4 minutes there, and then we'll come back and put the chip on. So for desoldering and for installing these components, we don't use any solder paste. What we use is a tacky paste flux. I'm using an Amtech, and it's a water wash medium active tacky flux. And with the lead free, we always want to use a medium active. With lead, we can use a no clean. But with the lead free, if we use a no clean, we'll probably get a little bit lower yield, because with the lead free solder, it tends to oxidize. So you want to be able to have a flux that has a little bit of activity or cleaner in it to clean the oxidation out of lead-free solder, whereas lead solder doesn't tend to oxidize as much. So you could use a no clean and it's fine. We're still over here off screen desoldering this, about halfway done. Just cleaning up all the solder up before we wick it. I'm still here, just about done. Just lot of solder cleanup on this thing. I want to make sure all the pads are taking the solder good. I'm gonna have to get myself one of those video cameras I can wear on my head, so next time this won't be a secret. Okay, it looks like we have success here. We've got all of our pads cleaned off, so we'll be bringing the board back around. I'll turn my cooling off. Okay, so sorry about that boring part of the video here. If you watch it later, if you're watching it, you can always skip ahead after it's recorded. But so what I did is I've got it all nice and flat and desoldered here. Now I put a nice coat of tacky mildly active flux over all the pads. This will be good for the lead-free solder. Okay. Let's see if we got this so you guys can see what's going on. Yeah, we're going to want to see what's going on the video this time. So we'll get this up a little closer for you. Okay, so we've got our flux on the board. Let's get our board centered in the screen. Lock it down. Make sure our bottom nozzle's up a little bit where we need it. Gonna identify pin 1's in the upper right hand here. Well, now I'm just gonna place my socket in the center of the silkscreen, in the white lines here. And we're gonna take our nozzle off. I'm gonna put a larger pickup tube on. Again, let's make sure this is still aligned the way we want it. And so these sockets are heavy. Sometimes they'll tilt one way or another, so we're going to manually pick it up until we get it to stay level. So I'm going to click on my screen and take it over here to the manual controls and go down. Turn our light on here. And it automatically slows down before it gets to the component. And then it will automatically stop once it touches it. I'll turn my vacuum on. What we're going to do is just going to pick this up a ways. And that looks great. It's not tilting at all. So we're all the way up. We'll pull our vision system out here. I'm going to turn one of my overhead lights off again so it's easier to see the screen, because sometimes you got really bright overhead lights that'll screw up your vision a little bit. So I'm going to pull my camera out and zoom in. And for right now, I want to get my pads. You can see my pads down here focused. So the pads on the board are focused. They're in a gold. And then I'm going to, right now it's off a row, but I can see my balls up here on the top of the screen. The balls are sort of a blue. Let's see if we can brighten those up a bit. I'm just going to move the head up and down to make sure my balls are focused. Good. Good. So right now we see our solder balls here, and it's off a roll. So this has a micrometer adjust down here, you can see. And we're just going to move those into place. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that it's even all the way across. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the pads here on the right. I'm just going to move them out a little bit next to the ball. And you can see my pads here on the left are off. They're down a little bit. So this has a theta or a z-axis micrometer just up here on the top of the head. I'm just going to turn that until we make the solder balls are level across the whole board, or even. And so what happens is if you're using some of the other machines where this is stationary, you're not going to be able to zoom in like this, because if you zoom in, all you're going to see are the capacitors. So what having this movable head makes it a lot easier to line up each corner. And so also when you're lining these up, the true vision is in the center of the screen here. So if I look in the center here, you'll notice these go off a little bit because the camera lens is curved. So you don't want to go by your outer. You want to go by what's in the center of the screen. So that's also why I want to move this head. See, if I put it here, the ball's on center, but if I move it out to the edge, it looks like the ball's off, which it isn't. So we're going to check our left balls near the center of the screen. Then we're going to check our right balls near the center of the screen. Those look off a little bit. We might have to stretch them. So let's see. Oh no, that's good. When I say stretch, when you move the head up and down, it actually will stretch the balls a little bit. So there's a little bit of maneuvering to make sure everything lines up perfectly. And again, you don't have to be 100% on the pads. If you're touching it with about 50%, you're good. So let's see. Center. Center. Can I go down this side? So I've got them to where across, they're not crooked, they're all lined up. I'm going to go here and closer to the center now, because like I said, the center is where our true vision is. And I'm just going to look at the balls on the top and the bottom. Let's look a little bit off. We're going to turn a little bit here. Top again, bottom. Check the corners. Hope I'm not doing this too fast for you. I'm used to doing this, so sometimes I go pretty fast. But this one, it's hard to tell sometimes if sometimes you can get a chip or a socket where the balls are just a little bit off center on the component itself. And so we're going to make sure we're all lined up here. So, okay, those all look pretty good. I look at it, looks some are 100%, some, well, actually these are all pretty good. It looks like all the balls are touching the pad, so I'm comfortable with that. So we've got the solder balls lined up, and then I'm going to manually touch the down button here, and it's going to place the component. The light in here so you can see. Okay, so our component's down on the machine. I'm going to turn out the vacuum, and then there's two controls here on the buttons on the screen. Getting that glare, but there's a fast and a slow, and we're just going to slowly lift this up. Make sure that the socket doesn't stick to the pickup tube, and once it releases, I'm going to go all the way up. And since the socket is tall, and I want to get the nozzle down around it, and I don't want the pickup tube sitting on it, I'm going to take the pickup tube off. Going to put the nozzle back on. Turn this light off here. So our nozzle's back on. Everything should be centered, but I'm just going to go ahead and just double check, make sure we have enough clearance around the component. Now from that side. So we have this one. This has a little lip on here, so actually we're centered, but the lip would hit it. So we're going to back that up a little bit so that the tab on the cap of the component doesn't hit the nozzle. Great. Okay, so we're good to go. We'll just do a double check. I'm sure I've got it right, but I'll just do a confirmation of pin 1. Then I'm going to hit manual again. And this will start our profile. Our heating profile. Okay. Got the heater down where I want it. I'm going to double check my bottom heater, make sure it's up where I want it. And this is nice. Allow the bottom heater to help support the board a little bit. And that's about it. We're just going to wait for this to reflow. I'll cool it down. I'll inspect it under the microscope. So what I'll do is I'll do a visual inspection of the solder balls. I'll make sure everything compressed and went uniform. And then make sure we'll look around the perimeter. Make sure we don't have any bridging around the perimeter. You really can't inspect the inside balls if you don't have an X-ray machine. We do have an X-ray machine here. So I'll X-ray it, make sure there's no bridging. But once you get your process down pat and your profiles all set up, you don't really need an X-ray. Like I say, everything here is pretty much 100%. We've got our process down pat. We don't really get any bridging unless we have some weird anomalies with the chip warping, or if a board warps really bad, or solder masks come loose. So this is a little inspection mirror here, and you can get these. Oh, where did you get them at? I forgot. I ordered them online, and they're about 65, 75 bucks, and you can look around the perimeter of the solder ball or the socket, or the chip of the socket. I'm sorry. You look around the perimeter, and you can see that that the solder ball is compressed well, and everything went down evenly. Do you have any questions at all about what we're doing here, or about the machine? Yeah, some of the chips, you're able to see the when you look in the side here, you're able to see the balls when they reflow. On this socket, it's so low profile of the board, you can't see it. So we're just going to let this whole profile run through, and then we'll inspect it afterwards. Well, not yet, no. What do you mean I'm not ATM? Something happened here. There we go. Lost our picture somehow. That was weird. Oh, okay. You ask your questions here, or I can you can call me afterwards, or we can Skype afterwards after we run the reflow if you like. Give me a few more minutes to get this thing. Once the reflow is done, then we'll be free to talk. Yeah, we're about 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes into this. I think this is about a 7 minute profile. I got this one going pretty long. It's a thicker board. If you want to stick around long enough, I don't know how much time you have, but if you want to stick around long enough, when the board cools down, I'll take it off and put it on the X-ray machine, and you can see what the X-ray looks like. Okay, so we got probably about probably another 3 to 4 minutes before we're all done, and it's cool enough. I'll throw it on the X-ray, and we'll take the camera over there. Okay, so we're into our last zone, number 4. And we got about, so what happens out, don't know if you're familiar with the machines, they have, we do zones, we'll go to, so I'll set up different heat zones. So we'll go up to 240 degrees and hold it for 30 seconds. We'll go to 270 degrees and hold it for 30 seconds. Now my last zone right now is 290, and we're gonna hold that for 60 seconds, and then it'll stop and cool down. Basically what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to hold, once the chip reflows or the solder balls melt, you wanna hold it there for about 30 to 60 seconds. And so we're counting down, 20 more seconds to go. After it counts down, the machine will beep. The cooling fans will go on and the head will go up. There we are. And so now it's going to automatically cool down. Okay, let's see if this is cool enough. It's getting cool there. We'll take it out. Let's turn it around here to the X-ray machine. Actually, let me set this board down for a minute. See if we can move our camera up here a little closer and you get an idea what it looks like. So let's see. So we're just going to get this up in here. Let's move the camera closer here for you. There we go. And so we've got this in the X-ray machine, and we're just going to make sure that we don't have any bridging or shorts. I can adjust the intensity here of the beam. Just going to zoom in a bit. Just want to go around. You see all the solder balls are pretty evenly even. None of them are like bigger or smaller than the other one. There's no solder going down in the vias at all. No bridging. I'm going to have to move this over a bit. Board is still a bit hot. That's better. You can see the balls are a little bit bigger over on this corner than they are on this side. And that could just be the density of the board, or it could have gone down a little bit more on one side than the other. It could have compressed more. I think one of these boards has more ground plane on one side than the other. So, but it looks pretty good on the X-ray. It's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and once it cools down, I'm going to do a visual inspection on it, and we should be good from there. Okay, so that ends this demo. I'm going to log off on this, and then I say, well, we can hook up on Skype, or you can give me a call and answer any questions that you have. Thanks for watching.